Hey everybody, it's me, Beth Maitland from Drama Queen Bee Quilt Studio. We're back for part 2, the construction phase of this adorable log cabin improvisationally pieced pincushion with Beth and Emilia here in the studio. Let's get this built.
So here's our little finger pressed piece, and it's a little bigger than the finished size that we're after. And so on my ruler, I got a clear ruler, and I measured where I wanted the outside of it to be. And now we can see through where the tape marks are. And we'll be cutting on the outside edges along the blue, but where the yellow tape marks are, we can now adjust it. And as long as everything, all the edges land within the tape marks, we can make this as wonky as we want. So Emmy, jump in there and decide where you'd like that to frame using the yellow tape and the outside upper and right hand blue borders to give you the sized square you'd like at the angles you'd like. And now grab your cutting tool and trim us up. Great. Great. And now you obviously know you can either tilt, I would turn the fabric instead of the ruler so that you don't have to cut towards yourself. So twist the fabric, and you can use now the tape to line up to the edges you've already cut and then trim off the other sides. Great job. Whoopsie. Got a little wonky piece. Perfect. And removing the ruler, take a look at our top. It's fantastic. And so she used basically 4 different kinds of fabric, added things on in an anti-clockwise manner all the way around and around and around until she filled up her space. And this is going to be the top of our wonky log cabin pincushion. Now, before we do the joining, we're going to take it back over to the sewing machine and do a few more lines through it on the sewing machine so that we can quilt down the edges, and we'll have a look at that in just a moment. Okay, so we're back at the sewing machine with Emmy, and she's decided that what she likes the look of is just some straight lines. Go ahead. Quilted across her piece at varying intervals, and they don't have to be perfectly straight. It doesn't necessarily have to be lined up with the piecing. All we're trying to do is sort of stabilize this and basically machine quilt it.
Fantastic. So she's done all of her lines. Let's take a look at what that stitching looks like. It's just straight lines across. It stabilizes everything. It's machine quilted down now, so the edges are good, and we'll be able to do the construction the rest of the project. This is a quick look at the back side. And so we've now cut a piece of fabric exactly the same size as the top that we've made, and where her fingers were apart, that's where she's going to be leaving an opening to turn it inside out. And she's going to start, and then she's going to backtrack a couple of stitches and then start again, and she's going around all of the sides, but remembering to leave an opening for turning at the place that she began, so that she'll be able to easily turn this inside out. And it's going to be a good size pincushion. I think it's about a 5-inch square, maybe a little bit more than that even. And so she's just going around at about a little bit more, sort of a generous 1/4-inch seam all the way around all sides. And we're going to come back in just a moment, and when she gets it turned inside out, we don't want it to have a lot of buildup in the corners. So she's going to be making a diagonal clip across all 4 corners. She's going to clip off that extra fabric, all the points on those 4 corners, and that way that'll keep from having a buildup or have it look boxy or bulky in those corners. When you're turning it, if you don't clip those edges, you can easily have the pencil you're using or the pen you're using or the bodkin that you're using to turn go right through the fabric or right through the stitching. So again, this is where we're leaving things up. As you can see, she's reversing 2 or 3 stitches. This is where we're having a little double up because that's where she's left a space to turn. And now we are clipping those corners, and then we will turn it inside out. Now, in normal circumstances, if you were building a very fancy pincushion, you could use a lot of things to stuff it. You can use ground up black walnuts. Pro tip, get it at the pet store. It's lizard bedding, and it's very cheap there instead of spending a lot of money at a quilt studio. You can use sawdust. You can use emery. Emery's quite expensive and very dusty, so if you do that, I would put it in a muslin bag before you put it in the pincushion. So now she's just used cotton for this one, and she's stuffed it all up, and she's pinned that opening shut. We machine sewed it shut, but you can hand stitch it if you wish. We added a button, a couple of pins, and a tassel. Isn't that fantastic? It's Beth and Emmie from the Drama Queen Bee Quilt Studio. Thanks for joining us.